today we are going to talk about narrative budget for missional storytelling. And we're going to talk about the importance of telling stories in our human existence and what is a narrative budget, how to find the stories for your narrative budget, and ways to incorporate your narrative budget into your congregation's communications. We know the importance of telling stories because Jesus was a great storyteller. The only reason we generally have trouble figuring out what he was talking about is because of the barriers of language, the passage of time, and probably our own ego. We come from a tradition rich in story, and there is much for us to remember about the way Jesus told stories. First of all, he was inspirational. He always found a way to bring the crowd together, to bring people toward him. But he also found a way to connect to the individual with his stories. In fact, these stories connect to us still. This may seem like an impossible tightrope to walk because we are, in fact, not Jesus, but we'll talk about best practices that will help. Storytelling is also important to us because we, as humans, are social creatures. We learn about ourselves in relationship with one another, and stories are one of the most powerful ways in which we learn. Through stories, we take information with us out into the world and share it. Just think about the news feature you heard on a drive one day and couldn't wait to share once you reached your destination. Or something you read that you couldn't wait to talk about at the dinner table. That's how powerful stories are for us. I heard at a lecture years ago in college that humans were the only species that tell stories. We know that there are species that grieve and that talk, and these were once thought to be the things that made us unique. But we know now that we are the only species that tell stories the way that we do. There's this amazing research being done about the power of stories, and in fact, researchers now think that stories actually predated speech. It was our need to tell stories that drove our desire to communicate with language. We needed to teach others how to make fire, or to tell them about the dangers of wild animals, or not to eat poisonous berries. That's how powerful stories are to us. Are there stories that have made a significant difference in your life, that are foundational in your family or your congregation? Do you, especially in times like these, have books that you come back to time and time again? You might not know each of these books, and they might not have the same impact on you, positive or negative, that they have on me. But here are some very famous first lines. These first lines are enough to give me the setting, whether it's the rural South, or Napoleonic Paris, or a port city in Chile on Holy Thursday. These words begin to set the tone for what follows, the story. And why do we need to worry about how we tell stories? Because Jesus told us to go into the world and be like him, to love people and make disciples. And we know how Jesus did this. He told stories. He didn't use spreadsheets. We talked about this at the beginning, that Jesus used his stories to provide connections and make meaning in people's everyday lives. And I think that's what we are tasked with as well. And I think that's what we can do with a narrative budget.